All right. We are going to focus on Paul this morning from the second reading, partially because it's worthy of our attention, and partially because I preached about Paul last week to the other Mass times. It's good to be fair when possible. Okay, so in this second reading, Paul was explaining how God's wisdom is not our wisdom, and that the most unlikely people will find themselves in God's service. Amen to that. Amen to that. That is a very understated idea. All right, let's think about this for a minute. There's a value out there. Let's call it wisdom in general, for simplicity's sake. It's not a skill. It's not a talent. It's not knowledge. But wisdom can aid all three of those categories. It's more than an opinion or a perception. That's entirely subjective. And yet it's not a notion or a concept. Because notions and concepts do not grow and change with us throughout life. Wisdom is wisdom. There's nothing else on earth quite like it. And it doesn't belong to anyone in particular. Thank God for that. It's so unique in that way. Again, think about this for a second. Knowledge belongs to the educated. Generally speaking, if you want to be knowledgeable, well, you really do need to go to school and get your degree and read books and write papers and all of that. At some point, you need to enter that world of academia and play their game for knowledge. Power belongs to people who have somehow earned it, normally at the price of something human within. Politicians have power. You don't need me to tell you about the price they pay for that power. Soldiers certainly have power, but at the absolute very least, they pay a psychological price when they are trained to take a human life for the sake of duty. Make no mistake, that has an effect on a person. And then again, maybe those examples are a little too extreme. Maybe the price for power is a little more down to earth. Because there are plenty of professions out there like pastors, police officers, judges, you name it. Those professions certainly come with power. And they don't seem to demand too much at first. But before long, any of those professions and plenty others like them, those people will suffer rejection and hatred because they will use their power to the best of their ability, and the very people they're trying to serve will revile them as a result. That's where the spiritual drain kicks in. Now, it's not going to happen on the first day, but you might say that it's part of the job. So you could say that power and authority come with a price that's paid in scar tissue. So, in contrast to all of that, those examples and anything else I could have thought of, in contrast to all of that, you got wisdom. Wisdom doesn't belong to any group or demographic. There are no prerequisites. There is no set method to obtain it. There is no spiritual price to pay for it. And absolutely anyone can possess it. So on that note, I think it's time for another Father Justin pop quiz. I feel like half the church just woke up. If you please, I want you to think of the wisest person in your life. Past or present, all that's fine, but who is the wisest person you can think of off the top of your head? Okay, got it? How many of you are thinking of someone with below average education? All right. How many of you are thinking of someone with above average education? All right. How many of you are thinking of someone of modest means? Someone that never had all that much money? All right. How many of you are thinking of someone financially successful? Okay. How many of you were thinking of a woman? Okay. How many of you are thinking of a man? Okay. Well, thank you for your participation. For the record, I was thinking of my grandfather, the one that died in 2000. Can't tell you exactly why he's the one that pops in my head, but there you go. Now, for all of those answers, I was expecting, give or take, about a 50-50 ratio to everything. We did pretty good. A few more men than women, I think, but besides that, pretty much even across the board, as far as I could tell. I've got one more question, and I'm frankly expecting a different result this time. Are you ready? How many of you were thinking of someone who was kind and loving? Yeah, that's what I thought. That's a different question, isn't it? Stronger connection between that and all the other things I said a minute ago. So, once again, thank you for your participation. I hope that little exercise at least partially proved my point. Wisdom comes from God. Therefore, wise people tend to be good and generous people as well. Beyond that, it's all personal taste. Wisdom does not come with a formula. It cannot be bought. It cannot be born into. There are no guarantees. And thank God that wisdom belongs to everyone. Okay? Men, women, richer, poorer, none of that matters. Wisdom belongs to us all, and that means that terribly unlikely people will find themselves in God's service. And that is reason enough to take Paul's advice in the second reading for us to boast, but boast in the goodness of the Lord.